Well, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Thunderbolt Models for sponsoring the show. There is a full interview with them. This can be found at the end of the live show. So, guys, please watch it, enjoy it, and support them. Thanks. Cheers. I'd like to welcome our second sponsor to the show, Medika Barn Models from Poland. They are a relatively new company to the South African scene. Their products are available from Thunderbolt Models or from them direct. So check out their webpage, guys. I've left the webpage details and contact details for all to see. We will feature their products in a future show. And hopefully we'll have Martin, the owner, on the show, and we can explore these products further. So I'd like to welcome a new channel, new idea, South African modeling, South African railway modeling scene, show number 1. It's an idea that to promote modeling South Africa. Also the prototype, the model, anything around South Africa. So let's hope the show goes from strength to strength, and welcome to the first episode. Let me introduce our co-host. His name is Rinker, all the way from Johannesburg, because I'm sitting in Europe. Let's bring him in. So, just 1 second. And we have also Richard in the screen, who will be our guest for today. So, greetings, gentlemen.
Cheers. Good afternoon.
Well, we'll start off with Rinker as our co-host, a long friend of mine, known him 10 years or so. We've had our ups and our downs, but on the whole, good to see you.
Carry on.
Good to see you again, Rinker. Well, this is today's show. We're meant to have started a few hours ago, but technology decided to fail in first world Austria. So normally it would be South Africa that has no electricity, or all the phone wires were stolen. But no, actually, it was Austria today. So
all up and running here, no problems. And our load shedding has been cancelled till next week Friday. How's that?
So, brilliant. So Rinker, tell us a little bit about yourself for the guests, for the people that don't know you.
Well, I've been into model railways since I was 6 or whatever, with the first train around the Christmas tree. From there, I got into N-Gauge, not HO or 00, and joined a Dutch club, which was modular based. And that is a principle I brought to South Africa in the 90s, when we started our modular railroading here. And after that, I took over a model train shop and went from strength to strength. We started the local swap meets. We started it in South Africa, that whole thing. And we got other modular clubs going. So just to create an interest in a hobby and bring people out of their houses, make it a social event, and together you can do more, and together you learn and you see. And at the end of it, we started with a South African dedicated system on proper Cape gauge, not on HO's track. And that gained a hell of a lot of interest. And, well, here we are.
Okay, no, brilliant. obviously I've been involved in the South African scene since 1994, when I started to the idea to start CMD models. And there was, at that time, there was only about 11 or 12 people modeling South African, and there was no internet. So obviously, from my side, it was a real challenge. Living in London and having to write snail mail letters to the guys in Cape Town and waiting 3 months for a reply was very interesting. But that was my journey in a nutshell. So before we introduce Richard, we're going to just show you a bit of Rinker's shop. Rinker has a shop in northern Johannesburg and Randburg / Bryanston. What do you want to call it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, on the border.
On the
Literally.
border.
Yeah.
He's right by the police station of Randburg.
Yeah.
So
which is convenient.
definitely. Doesn't that police station use private security though?
Yes, they when they can afford it. But yes, we've got 24/7 private security here who do look after the police station as well. Yeah.
Only in Africa do they tender the security for the police.
Yeah, that's it. This Africa, anything can happen here. But at least our internet is working.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. So, Rinker, you want to talk us through your...
Yeah, as everybody can see, I'm busy repacking, restocking, and finding all kinds of stuff that I used to have in my shop because I moved shops. So I've got too much stock and trying to find places to pack it all the way in after numbering and checking everything out. So that's what you see being done there. Everything slowly goes onto the shelves. What you see on that side is predominantly N-gauge. There's virtually no N-gauge in South Africa available. I've got about 3/4 of what you see there is N-gauge buildings and rolling stock. And then next to it, Märklin. So that's all in that picture. And hopefully next time we make a movie, I can have it clean. Yeah, those are some of the cabinets. The left top, especially for our English viewers, if they are interested, there's the Great Gathering. I'll make some better pictures of that. An original set. Never ever used in its original box. So that's about my only English stuff I've got. And then we will move on to some little footage just now. Further down, you'll get South African buildings. As we go down the cabinet. Just waiting for our controller to hit the right button.
Oh, sorry, hit the mute.
Yeah, you see, our controller's in Austria, so it takes a little while for him to hear us.
Yeah. Your English Great Gathering set, is that a Hornby or is that a Bachmann?
No, it's Hornby. Hornby made that. And we imported then about 6 of those sets.
Funny English loading gauge stuff. I don't know that funny English loading gauge stuff. Yeah. I only know proper loading gauges of Europe.
Yeah, well, that's English, but the guys love it. And this is one of the original sets, as I said, never used. And there's a Union of South Africa in there. And everybody wants that one, but as well buy the rest and get the Union of South Africa as well. But yeah, that's where we are. But it would be a nice Christmas present for somebody.
Okay. So yeah, we have the next one.
Yeah, that's just a bunch of starter sets there standing there on the heap for people to get into the hobby or re-entering into the hobby. One of the things I did is I bought a lot of Pico HO starter sets in, especially for all the people in South Africa who model with Lima, because that stuff is 40 to 50 years old, the transformers not working, track being horrible. So now at least they can get a set for a reasonable price with good, decent German quality, with a train that's running and a transformer that's working, so they can get their stuff running again. Next to that is a diorama I'm busy with. That's a coal mine from Essen in Germany. It's a World Heritage Site, and I'm building that in 1:160 scale in N-gauge. And that module is about 1.2 meters by 80 centimeters. So it's quite big, but that's the only way I can get all the buildings in. And that is...
Who's that model? That looks like a Josswood model.
It's not just wood. It comes from Mini Trix. They did a limited run of this. It's one of their other suppliers. It's not just wood, this one. It is called... Oh, I have to get the name.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's one of the German laser cut companies.
Okay.
It took about 3 months to build the thing. Never mind. It's a big thing.
Okay, so now we're going to go. We're going to look at some of the beautiful South African buildings. That
as you can see behind me. Yeah.
So we'll add those in. I don't know. Do you want to just? I'll start the video. You can tell the viewers
that is
where this is based, and also the gentle. That these are all handmade. I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, these are all handmade out of architectural cardboard and then painted. So there's no laser cutting, nothing in here. As you can see, I put a piece of HOM track underneath it so that you can see it. It's a gentleman named Albert Borstein who makes this. He's been doing it his whole life. And with absolute dedication and precision, and you can see the detail, the quality is there. Your ordinary laser cutting, which they do in South Africa, does not come close to this. This is a coal stage. You'll still find one in Stilbaai in South Africa, but there are obviously quite a few more around South Africa. So if you do anything with steam locomotives, then this would be the right thing to have on your layout. It's proper, it's right to scale, HO, and yeah, it's big, but beautiful. We're just waiting for our gnome there in Austria to do something else.
He's an old school modeler, and he does things. He does things the way I knew from the 80s and 90s. He measures the prototype up, and he takes photos and visits the site, and he does magnificent models. And it's it's well worth the money.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we'll bring in the next one.
This is Middelburg Station in what's now called Mpumalanga in the old Eastern Transvaal, Eastern Transvaal. It's at this moment used as a haven't been there yet as a restaurant, and this is all a total scale model of the building, also measured up exactly the way it was. A lot of the South African railway buildings these days are painted blue in the passenger railway colors. And even some old beautiful stations like this, well, not this particular one, but like Krugersdorp, which is the same sort of style, they just painted blue paint straight over the beautiful brick.
So I'll bring in the next one on the video angle.
Yeah, that's Middelburg again, now just from the other side. This is from the platform side.
You can see the attention to detail. It's a hand-built masterpiece. Obviously, it's up to the modeler if they want to do a bit of weathering or just to make the roof, whatever. But it's a magnificent model.
Yeah, you can do some weathering with powders to make it a bit more, daily, if I can put it like that. But the models all come like this, as in pristine and nice, with all the gory details on there that you're looking for.
No, definitely.
Well, this is a big one. This is Petersburg Station. There you see the first part, and then we go into the next cabinet because it's a quite long station. There you see the second part. The original station was also built in two sections. The one was added on much later than the previous one, and that's up in the Limpopo province, previously called the Northern Transvaal. It still exists. Whether it's all in full use, I don't know, because there are no passenger trains running that side at the moment. It's also fully detailed. Everything is on there. And this is a very special model to Albert, who made this. because his wife, who sadly passed, always wanted me to order one for somebody, and I had nobody who wanted to order one. So after she passed, I said to him, you know what? In honor of your wife, let's make one. So there we go. He built this station, so it's got a personal history with it as well. And it's, once again, every detail, even the fire extinguishers are hanging on the wall. Everything is there that you need to have if you want a proper big South African station.
That's a beautiful model, no doubt about
Yeah.
it. The architecture is very different to Middelburg. So,
yeah.
But
Middelburg was like the Dutch South African railway system. This not. This was later.
I think we have. Oh no, it's not on. Let's go to.
That is old. That's Boksburg station when it started in the late 1800s, and there are only 2 pictures in existence of that station, and 2 or 3 pictures. And according to you see one on the right-hand side building and then on the right wall you see a picture. That's one of the original pictures of that station, photograph taken way back then. And from there, he could work out exactly how big, how wide the station was, and made the models accordingly.
And the buildings at the back, I assume those are the standard SAR houses, the photos.
Yeah, the standard houses. There are 4 types, A, B, C, and D, and those are the 4 types you see there. In between the houses and these 2 stations with the green roofs, you'll see a lot of buildings, which I will show you next time. That's Magaliesburg station with all the add-on little buildings on the platforms. A kiosk and a post office and a ablution block, and you name it, it's all there. Because if you do South African, you have to have proper buildings as well.
Sorry, if I have to push. You do take commissions, don't you? So if you wanted to have Peter Maris station built, for example,
Maritzburg has been done. That went to somebody in. Is it in England? Maritzburg station has been done. That's quite big. Pretoria station has been done. Franshoek station has been done. That is, as a matter of fact, in Franshoek station, which is now a pub and grill. It's proudly displayed there on a little diorama. Put a little bit of track on there. What other stations have we done? Heidelberg station. If you go to the town of Heidelberg, not far out of Johannesburg, there's a whole diorama with the current Heidelberg Museum, all scale built to 1:87 scale. We did every building that's there is on the diorama, including the station. And the station is very much in the same style as the Middelburg station.
Okay, so basically, so this is the Rinker's web page.
You'll find a lot more buildings on the page.
I mean, I've left the address at the bottom for you for the viewers to look at, and obviously just go to the web page yourself. Here's the shop. This is not the place to look at the shop, but there's all the information you need, and please go and visit his shop. And if you want to have a model commissioned of any station or building or structure, then contact Rinker via the web page. And definitely worth supporting. And that stuff that is made is superb. So no doubt about it. All right, so that's let's get rid of your shop.
Yeah, thank you. There you go. Goodbye.
All right, let's introduce Richard. As we can see him on the top corner. Richard is a long-time customer of CMD models, and I've sort of had chats with Richard on and off over the years. And so I'll leave it up to you, Richard. Introduce yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm based in Stockport in the UK, and I joined GC Traction in 1978, and ended up going to South Africa in 1979 to work on the 9E locos at Saldanha Bay. And then later in the 80s, early 80s, I was asked to look at putting microprocessor control on two 6E1 locos, and went out in May 1982 to commission them. And we found that I needed to do some software changes, and they were then modified. Well, the software was upgraded, and they ran very, very well. Apparently, they were quite reliable, much more reliable than the original 6E1s. So, and come lockdown, when we had the COVID-19, I decided that, and had nearly retired, I decided that I wanted to model those locos, and I got Frank Collingwood in New Zealand to do some 3D printing of the locos. So, and they are now, I now have 5 6E1 Series 9 locos and 1 6E loco from Frank, and I run those on my model railway. I also have some models from Craig as well. I have a 10E loco in brass, which I'm very proud of and very pleased. And also some other wagons from both Frank and from Craig. And hopefully you'll see some pictures and videos of these locos and models on my layout.
All right. First of all, we'll start with.
Yep.
So anyone who doesn't know, this is from GEC, Union Carriage and Wagon, and this is our famous 6E, 6E1. I'll just page through it, and if anyone wants to read the text, well, you need to pause when you're watching this video on YouTube. You need to pause. So I'll just go through each page and give you enough time to pause it. And this is not the right forum to sit and discuss the merits of the loco.
Just a question, if I can pop in for Richard. Did they upgrade the other 6E1s as well after you did the 2?
No, the upgrade, you mean from up to 18Es, was actually done by the French. The company I went to work with, called Alstom, and in France, they did the upgrade to for the 18Es, and there was a change in design. In the fact is that the original locos would regen in electric brake, whereas the 18Es do not do that. They actually just have rheostatic brake, where all the in braking, the energy, instead of going into the line, actually goes into a bank of resistors, and is easier to control, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so, but a waste of electricity, I guess.
It is, but
yeah.
One of the problems that was with the existing locos is that when you're in regen, and if there's a fault, and you try and open the line breakers under the fault, then instead of the arc being dissipated in the arc chute, it comes out the back of the back of the contactor, and you then see spit marks on the back of the cubicle. So I suspect they just thought, well, it's easier to do this, and the 18Es seem to run very reliably. So
I'd like to add to the question what Rinker was aiming at. You obviously went out for Loco 2001 and Loco 2002. I'll bring them up.
Yeah.
With an upgrade on the software, did all the other 6E1s subsequently get the upgrade, or was it only these 2 test locos?
No, it's only those 2 locos. Apparently, the chief engineer didn't like them because he thought it took the control away from the driver, but which it didn't, because the driver still had to control it properly. But it just meant that the contactors and worked in properly every time. One of the problems is if you notch up very quickly or notch down quickly, then all the relay logic on the original locos just can't operate quickly enough, and you end up with the circuit going open circuit and the current going here, there, and everywhere. So that's why the contactors used to have a problem, whereas the Logic locos always correct. And the contactors lasted a lot longer.
Okay, kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
So I'll start the slideshow here. I assume this is in Braamfontein.
Yes, that's
Looks like it, yeah.
yeah.
What did you say the year was for this? 1980?
May 1982.
Okay.
I had to check and look at my passports, or old passports, to look at the date.
If you have a look at the Loco cab plate, you'll see that there's a text underneath which says it's a test Loco. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
You can see it there.
Yeah.
And
I was wondering about it. Yeah.
And they're single cabs. They're only single cabs. If you notice in that picture there's a small window where the driver's window would be, and in that is a special cubicle which has a high-speed circuit breaker.
Okay, so they can only run one way.
No, because they used to run in pairs. There's two.
Yeah.
And they run, so they would always run as a pair.
So it's like the 18E.
Yeah, which was interesting because these were the only two 6C ones that had that unique feature.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, yeah.
Out of the many hundreds made.
So can I put it in a different way? Was it a sort of a prototype for the later 18E?
Yes, because I provided some information to the engineers in France as to how we did the Logic Locos, and I presume they took that on board in the design of their software.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see the two Locos together, number 2001 and 2002. Is that also Braamfontein? Very difficult.
Yes, it is. They're all Braamfontein, yeah.
And where did they run from Braamfontein?
We'll get to that. Mr.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, all good. I have no idea what that is.
That's the high-speed circuit breaker.
Oh.
Well, was that in the cab?
Yes, that's in the back cab in the special cubicle. So there's a wall on the left-hand side of that picture, and obviously the right-hand side of the picture is the side wall of the Loco.
Okay, so that's why that cab couldn't be used.
That's right. Yes, and that's why they were single and they were always coupled together.
Yeah, back to back. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just another angle or view. These
are nice pictures.
Yeah, very nice. And then there's yours truly, Mr. Richard.
That's me.
But I don't see any grey hair.
Well, it's a long time ago. 1982. I was still in my 20s in that day.
Well, I like the fact that he's wearing a suit and the other guys on the right-hand side are wearing those typical South African for the 80s and 90s. Yeah, exactly.
Well, in effect, the person on the in the blue coat, as it were, actually is a friend of mine from GEC and was very well known through GEC Traction and through Alstom as a really good engineer and so forth. So,
did on the day of the test, did guys from Union Carriage also come there, or was it only the South African Railways or SATs or whatever they were called?
Yeah, well, mainly it was all GEC people, and I think we actually had an inspector with us as well. But one of the problems we found was that when notching up quickly, because it had to rely on making sure all the contactors went through the right stages, we realized that it was a bit slow when you tried to accelerate from up at a certain speed. So that's where I had to make a modification when I got back to the UK to actually find a different method of notching up if you wanted to go from a low notch to a high notch at speed and not go through all the logic states that normally would happen on a conventional Loco.
But Richard, on this Loco, was this more a proof of concept that you were trying to do?
Yes, it was meant to be a prototype, and
okay.
And it was the first microprocessor locomotive that GC did. So, and then we went on from there to do lots of other projects with microprocessor control in the UK and all around, in various places across the world as well.
I had the map of the route that it took, but for some reason, with me going down on the system today,
looks like it's in Austria. It must be in Austria.
Man.
That's at Bloemfontein.
Yeah, you must move back to South Africa. Here, everything is working.
Definitely. I can't believe I had this here. But anyway, there are more ways to skin a cat. So let me show you.
So Richard, while he's trying to find things, so did Alstom basically, for lack of a better word, copycat your proof of prototype and then make the 18Es?
Well, basically, Alstom and GC got together because it was called GC Alstom.
They're amalgamated.
We amalgamated, and then Alstom became the company name in the GC
Okay.
part. So it was, it wasn't.
So it was internal.
Copycat. It was a case of just giving them the information and to help them do the right software. So obviously the control is much simpler on, I say simpler, but it's much simpler to drive the locos on the 8TEs than it is on the 6Es.
All right, so I've got we're going to do this another way because so basically they started off in Bloemfontein yards, and if you can see my mouse, went through Mayfair, past
Langlaagte.
Yes.
Langlaagte.
And
so they went west.
Exactly, through Longdale, past what's now the China Mall West, Pennyville, and then the test finished on the border of Soweto at New Canada.
Okay.
That's where the test finished. I mean, New Canada makes sense because it was a big yard. And also Richard told me in a private conversation that the Soweto line was very lightly used in off-peak. So it made for perfect testing.
Yeah.
And
as far as I understand, they used to use that run to test all 6E locos or 6E1 locos that came out of UCW and would be delivered to Bloemfontein, and then they were taken for a test run to make sure that they actually did operate as required. And then they just go back to Bloemfontein and then go into service.
So just imagine, Rinker, if we had train spotters in the 80s that weren't only looking for steam locos, you could have actually got, as Richard said, all the testing locos coming from Bloemfontein heading to Soweto effectively.
Yeah, I wasn't here back then, so sorry about that.
Yeah, I was unfortunately then only starting a primary school, so I don't even think I owned a camera.
No, I think we should call Richard Uncle from now on, seeing that he's a bit older than we are.
Yeah, but
Uncle Richard.
You seem to have more grey hair than he does, so.
Yeah, but that's all of you youngsters doing that to me. What can I say? At least I still got hair, so that's okay.
Your customers, I think, doing it to you.
Yeah. My 40 Rand Lima friends. Yeah, those.
Definitely. Yeah. So next we'll bring in some
drive me to drink.
Cheers.
Richard's got a cup of tea, I'm sure.
No, I've got nothing at the moment.
Mine's lemon water. So I'll bring in some videos from Richard. We can have a look. Let's start off with as we were talking about the Logic Locos. Let's bring in those first. I'm just busy uploading. There we go. Sorry, let's get that.
So that's the Logic Locos. They were professionally painted, and some cement wagons. Those two are Craig's wagons, and then those are 3 petrol tankers.
Rinkers, yeah.
From Frank Collingwood.
And I see you've got the right logos on the side as well for your testing logos.
Yes. The person who painted it, his son, did all the artwork for the decals, and the decals were professionally made. And I'm very pleased with the locos.
Yeah.
They are running through the station with 5 M28s in the back, and
who etched your cab plates? Or
they were actually decals.
Oh, those are decals. Okay.
But for my Tenny, I actually had the decals made, were etched in South Africa. And again, that's running.
I think it's Klein Train.
Yes.
So
that's Red Ann Station that I've modelled, and with some South African railway houses.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the model is layout is not quite finished yet.
No more.
Some of my Lima Locos.
I see them.
Okay, so I'm just thinking. I'm just looking if I have any of the photos.
For
Are you going to put catenary down, Richard?
Yes, that was my original plan. The problem is that we may well be moving house.
Yeah.
And it's in one of the bedrooms, and so I'm actually thinking of stripping it all down and actually building it in a modular format.
Yeah.
And maybe, because I'm actually in a model railway club in Stockport, I'm thinking of actually doing a modular layout I can actually take to exhibitions.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because we don't have any South African models and on the exhibition layouts in the UK. And it would be nice to show off.
Yes. Yep.
So that's the idea. This is Logic Loco. It's painted by professionally, and
you can actually you can see the small little cab window. That's such a unique feature for the 61.
I was the person who painted it for me, because he'd never done a 3D model before. He really went to town and did a lot more than he should have done. So he actually made proper windows to have flush windows on the model.
Nice. Yeah.
So it was very, very nice of him to do that, and the price didn't go up at all. So I was really, really impressed with him. So
one of the nice features you can see Rinker is the rain. Well, no, the cow catcher, but the rain outlet, the little things along the side, that only came from series 9, I think, or series 8 of the 6C1. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. That was a feature that only started to appear from series 8 or 9 of the 6C1.
Yes.
So anything before them never had that.
They were very flush. Yeah.
So
that's in their primer.
I mean, they look magnificent. There's no doubt about it.
And these are Frank Collingwood's models.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's why they look so good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's why they look good. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Very nice. And there you can see.
Yeah.
the decals that were made.
Yeah. So one side of the Loco had it in Afrikaans on the top and English on top on the other side.
Logica beheer Loco is. Especially for Trix there.
All right, let's. I'm trying to see what else I have. You're breaking up, so your jokes are going over my head.
I can't break up. I've got good internet.
Well, I used to think I had good internet before today. So
yeah.
So we'll move on to the next one. These were number 2012 and 2022. Let me just. So these were from the same series as the Logic Locos, but obviously
series 9.
They were the normal series run. Again, they have the little drainage pipes on the side of the Loco. So, no, definitely, as someone who loves electrics, I do think an electric Loco looks naked without the overhead wires.
Yes. Yeah.
It just adds a finishing touch to it.
Yes. No, I totally.
Well, one thing that's nice about these Rinker is that obviously Frank has also done the correct bogies with the traction links and the stabilizing bars and all that stuff. And it's not a diesel truck or a diesel bogie underneath.
So,
and also the real McCoy.
And you also got a battery box.
Yeah.
And what do you use? What do you use as running gear? What donor Loco do you use?
Well, the original those have got Rocco German chassis that are used.
Yeah.
And, I think we've got a picture. I sent a picture.
Yeah, I have. He's basically using from the starter series of the German BR 110, 120, or 140.
140 series. Okay.
Yeah, because they all they have the same wheelbase and the same.
That was going to be my question. Yeah.
The same, the correct wheelbase, the correct wheel size. The reason you need to use the starter set is the starter set uses a different mechanism and chassis than the expensive 110.
The normal one.
Yes. But the ones that Richard got were the very, very old ones. He didn't get any of the newer starter set ones like I have that have got a newer motor and a newer circuit board with digital interface and that kind of stuff.
We can solder that in, so it's not a problem.
Well,
I'm just trying to.
But actually, Frank has now gone further, and he actually now has made a motorized bogie with spoked wheels, and it's made the drive mechanisms are made in China. So now you get a fully modeled Loco, and the only thing you need to do, you get the pantographs supplied, the KD couplers on the front, everything, and all you need to do is paint it and decal the Loco. So you don't have to, and obviously it's a lot more expensive, but it's should we say more accurate because it has the spoked wheels.
Yeah, that's the real McCoy. Yeah.
Yes, and one of the things I found is that because I've bought the chassis or the Locos for the donors on eBay, then you don't know what state there it is. You don't know what state the motor is, and I've had to actually buy new motors for 3 of them. But I can get them from Rocco quite easily. So.
Yeah, but the Loco is good quality, so yeah, you shouldn't really have issues. But it's good to know that there's a proper chassis that one can use for these Locos.
Yeah.
In a future episode, I'll actually show you the one from the latest start. It's not Rocco swapped their starter sets continuously, so it's not it was I think 2021, 22 They had a starter set with a red Deutsche Bahn Loco with a BR 140. I bought quite a few of those. I will in the later show. I will show a chassis, what they look like now.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, in terms of on eBay and stuff, there are lots of them available. But obviously, you don't want to make the mistake of buying the deluxe version, because that's got a different chassis, and that chassis is actually longer and wider. So you actually would have to do some milling to get rid of some of the die cast metal, and you don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
But obviously, as Richard said, Frank now doesn't. I think Frank only sells complete locos now with the running gear.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think he gives you the option anymore.
And it's got working lights as well?
Not at the moment, no. So, but
But one can do that.
You can do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume that's the 6E bogie, which is slightly different, and you can see the 6E1 with the with the bars.
The grasshopper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
why didn't they retrofit those on the earlier ones?
Well, in effect, the bogies on the 6E, the 6E was the same as what was on the 5E. And the contract was let, I think, for to do the 6E ones was like a prototype to see if that worked. And obviously they then compared the two with regard to what the 5E did and what the 6E1 did. And obviously then decided that, yes, it was much better to use those traction links. So it's just development.
Okay.
Obviously that type of application was also used on the Coco locos, the 10E and 10E1s.
Okay, I'm trying to find us some video, because we can have a look at the Spoornet locos. For some reason, why have I lost all this footage? Unfortunately, these are not 100% in focus.
Yes, unfortunately.
But,
trying to get my phone to lock onto the wagons.
Onto the moving target. You could see in that one that if you were sharp-eyed, that was a 6E and a 6E1 in the mix, which I very much doubt they ever ran together in real life. But
indeed, I expect you're right. But
I know.
The only reason I wanted a 6E was that I've actually got the number plate for that loco.
Ah, there's valid enough reason.
So I bought it on the at an auction, or in fact, a colleague of mine bought it on for me.
Hopefully, sometime down the line, you will upgrade to some sound.
Yes.
It would be nice to hear the blower motors.
Yes, that's practically all you'll hear is the blower motors.
But you've done a really good job on painting them and making them look realistic.
Yes,
So,
well, I'm pleased with it. So,
yeah, no, that's what.
I had the decals done locally from a company near me, so they've done a good job.
I think I have. If I.
And just a question, Craig, you might know that. Now, if you want to do it prototypical, in other words, you go 12 millimeter, what chassis do you use then?
You
Well, you
don't.
don't, because Frank now supplies them complete now. So he supplies the 12 millimeter version or the 16.5
Oh,
millimeter
okay.
version.
So you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay.
No.
So this is there's the real ones.
Yeah, this, the Transnet version or Spoornet version.
Spoornet,
Well, the
yes.
ones that he based them on is so
Yeah.
you can just
Well, it makes a nice weathering job, all the dust. Yo.
Yeah.
Well, especially the rust on the roof.
Yeah.
And
Yes, mine are a bit too clean.
You got some work to do this afternoon.
Well,
you better not let Rickos van der Westhuizen see them. He will
You
have
won't
a
recognize them.
exactly.
yes.
But I mean, if you look at the bogies, always on 16.5, it always looks way too chunky. But Frank has done a good job in bringing that detail out. Even on 16.5, it looks spectacular.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
also, I mean, look at the front. It's come out really nice. Definitely.
Yeah. He's done a good job. I'm very, very pleased with what he's provided me with.
So we can move on. So these are just some standard 61, not the Logic Locos. Obviously, Frank Series 8, I think. Series 8 or 9.
No, Series 9's in fact.
This Series 9, okay.
Yeah.
I see you've obviously got a mixture of couplings.
Yes.
Some
Well,
of the Lima and some of the KD.
Yeah. Well, I've got one coal wagon with KD one end and Lima a couple of the other end. It's whether I convert all my Lima stock to KD couplers.
It's interesting you guys call it a Lima coupler because it's just a standard HO coupler. It's got nothing to do with Lima.
Right.
You spend too much time in South Africa, and then you call it a Lima coupler.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the couplers are not common to me because in the UK we actually had Hornby couplers or
it's
we
different.
had Triang couplers. So,
Well, I think the Germans call it the Bügelkupplung, which is which would be the. They don't call it the Lima coupler.
No.
I like the way you've done the catwalk. The catwalk looks really good.
Oh, painted in silver.
Yeah,
Yeah. I use
that looks nice.
Pen.
Again.
Richard, we got a new host. He's called Rudolf. He's not longer called Craig. It's now Rudolf.
Oh, he's got his. Very good.
He even does jingles. That's a nice angle. I like that.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Yeah.
Well, that shows off the station and the.
One thing I will say that if you do, once you've moved house modules, you do put in the overhead wire. Make sure that you use wire, the finer wire. I mean, I use, for my samples, I use the Sommerfeld system, and they do a very fine wire and a very sort of a coarser wire. But personally, the fine wire just looks a lot nicer, but probably not as good to run frequently as the coarser wire is.
Yes.
Yeah. What you can do is a little trick. As long as your wire is everywhere on the same height, so that's a trick you have to make sure of. Then fix your pantograph that it can't touch the wire, but stays a millimeter underneath the wire. Because you don't use it anyway to pick up power from, but then at least you don't get any problems. And in the HO, if you go 1 millimeter below the wire, nobody will pick it up, and it looks like the real McCoy.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to tweak the pantograph a bit, or if the pantographs are always up, you never take them down. You can super glue them in position.
Yeah,
but that's the trick to do it. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
That's what a lot of the display layouts do, Rinker. So good point from you.
Yeah.
I think Miniatur Wonderland in Hamburg, they soon discovered when they opened, they ran them properly, and they were having hookups continuously.
Yeah, and then the thing goes whee, flying.
Yeah. Because I went there in July, and I noticed that they were running pantographs down. So
all they have to do is just glue it.
One of the good things about the Sommerfeld system is if it's built properly, it's extremely rigid. Both the masks are bolted to the board, and if you solder properly, they're a lot more rigid than some of the other German manufacturers who have a lot more flex and movement.
Yeah.
But I'm not experienced enough to know what's. But Rinker, like Rinker said, that idea of having it mounted a millimeter below, that's obviously going to work perfectly. So
yeah.
Let me just let's have a look for some video. But I'd like to thank Richard for taking the time to film all this stuff. Definitely much appreciated from my side. Trying to convince
I learned a lot.
Trying to convince people to basically come on a show is enough to give you grey hairs.
Richard, thank you. I learned a lot, and lovely layout.
Thank you very much. Yes, no, I'm quite pleased. It reminds me of South Africa. So
they're good. It's a memory in your home. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite angles, by the way, that you filmed that. So.
And those were the original Logic Locos.
Yeah.
So before Frank gave me 2 new versions, which were corrected a few slight errors. So I think Frank is a bit of a
rivet counter.
Sorry.
He is into detail. I like that. That's good.
Yes. Yeah, I think it really does. He does a really good job, so it's nice. And my grandson likes to see the layout.
This is actually, funny enough, a spectacular video, even though it's not painted. Just look at that.
Yeah.
Well, you just called it fotografieranstreek.
What's that mean?
That's the photographic grade. They used to do it in the old days in Germany, in England as well, when they had a
Yes.
new Loco out,
Yeah.
to make the pictures, they painted it grey because then you could see all the detail.
All the detail in
correct,
black
yes.
and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
That-
when
that
you
was-
look at the Transit Heritage Library, all their photos standing outside of Glasgow or outside of in Kessel,
Yeah.
they look spectacular in their
Yeah.
grey livery.
Yeah.
So that was
Bayer Garrett was like that.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely. What I wanted to say was one of what gave me an inspiration to do this show was I had many years been thinking of doing a magazine because I was inspired by this magazine over here. And these guys were brave people in the 80s to do a South African publication. And this I had been for years wanting to do a magazine, but realizing people don't buy magazines anymore and it's just not financially viable. Then I started to see people doing similar stuff on YouTube, and basically
Here we start.
so this was, I'd like to have met the people that actually did this publication from the mid-80s. It would have been interesting. There was only
Are there
six or
no-
seven.
Are there no names inside?
Yeah, there is.
We can
don't
see
know
if they're
if you
still alive and kicking.
Can you read the names there?
No, because I'm watching on my phone, so it's a tad difficult.
Okay, so, it says the editor was a guy by the name of Ferreira, and
Yeah.
the regular contributors was a guy by the name of G. Hurd, B. Snoodake. Don't ask me to say Afrikaans names, and J. van der Vledder, and yeah, and then I see David Ryan also did some articles, and another guy by the name of Mr. Jones.
But the top guy, that is Portuguese.
Yes, that's a Portuguese.
Wasn't he part of our cake bakes club?
Sure, possibly.
I'm sure he was. He must be elderly now. Yeah.
And then, obviously, another big influence into South Africa being where we are was good old Lima. And
Yeah.
love it or hate it, good old Lima.
They put SAR on the market.
As a kid
Well, it
in
was
the
better
80s,
than
I used to look at these magazines as a kid in the 80s and wish I owned half of the stuff. Whether it was the Bullet Train from Japan or the TGV from France or the Metro Blitz from Lima. As you can see, this was my favorite page as a kid. Looking at the
Yeah, well,
Lufthansa.
they put SAR in the model train world. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
For all their faults, they did a damn good marketing job.
Yeah.
When did you actually buy your first Lima, Richard?
1982, when I was in South Africa. So I bought 2 Locos, one dummy and one powered. It would be E2001.
Can you remember where you got it from?
It was a model shop in Joburg, in a mall somewhere. I can't remember where the mall is now. It's not a long time ago. But
well, if I look at this magazine from '85,
there was one in the Carlton Center.
There was Model Train Exchange. They were in the city, but I don't really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't actually say Oh, no, it does. It says Jeppy Street. 167 Jeppy Street was model train exchange. What else have we got? Then there was Victor's, which
Victor's Hobbies.
They were in Granville Avenue, Savoy. I don't even know where Savoy is.
That's a bit out of town.
Granville Avenue, Savoy, Johannesburg. Then there was there were quite a few. Oh no, that one's in Durban.
There were quite a few because there was one in Carlton Centre. There was one downtown, very close to the station in, I think it's Church Street, if I remember correctly.
It's quite funny you say downtown. Hobbies and Models was in Downtown Centre. That was the name of the centre. Downtown Centre, Johannesburg. Yeah. Banking level Sandton City. Okay.
Yeah.
What else did we have? There was a place in Brakpan. EMC, they were called, Control Systems. There was Burmick Hobbies in Northcliffe as well. Unfortunately, I don't know. I only know the shops that were in Pietermaritzburg and Durban, so in this time.
Well, there's nothing downtown Johannesburg anymore.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
It changed slightly.
Yeah, ever so slightly, yeah.
You can buy other trains now.
But you can buy the real things now, after hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go there with your torch and cut it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you missed, if you know the movie Train Spotting, what that's about. It's kind of same thing. You know the movie Train Spotting? It's about drugs.
Yeah. Richard, just a question about your two locos, the 2001 and 2002. Are they still running?
Good point.
Well, there's one of them we've seen because it's now 18E. It's an 18030, and we've actually got a video of it coming up from Durban with a container train.
So we're going to see it now. This is the loco now. It's the lead loco.
Okay, so this is compatible with the later 18Es then?
This is an 18E. They converted it to the
they converted it. Okay.
So my electronics was taken out and replaced with the Alstom design.
Okay.
It's nice to know that it still exists.
Yeah. I was just wondering about that. Beautiful footage, by the way.
Yeah, this is from Jacobus. He probably has the best Natal Line YouTube channel on that there is. So he films he uploads probably 3 times a week.
Yes. Yeah.
So
nice to know. And there's still overhead wires there.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. They continuously replace them.
I think quite often they have problems of maybe the wire goes off one side and they have to run single track, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay. To go around the area where the wire is missing. Yeah.
I didn't realize this, but apparently the line has got so many tight curves on it that Coco locos can't really run very well on them. So that's why they run the 18Es, because they're just Coco. So
less friction.
Yes, well, less wheel flange, isn't it? So, but so it's nice that in effect the 6E ones continue in service, and is a testament
in disguise.
Yeah, it's a testament to the traction motors and also the electrical magnetic equipment that's on the trains and the locos.
So that's the Loco there, the lead Loco. So you can actually, I will bring up his web page for anyone who's not a subscriber of Yaku. So that's his YouTube page.
Ja,
And
kom maar recht. Ja.
he has some stuff from the Johannesburg, Pretoria area, but majority of it is on the Midlands meander. So that's Howick, Nottingham Road, Sudara, Hilton, Pietermaritzburg, and he gets some amazing footage.
It does, yeah.
Especially, I mean, a footage where he stands in between the locos and stuff. He knows all the drivers at all their exchange points. He knows all the staff. So it's I'm just trying to look for. I mean, here if you see, he's literally standing. He's standing next to the loco.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what we would say in the is the forefoot, which is between the tracks.
Ja.
I didn't know that. So yeah, so basically that's I mean, look at that footage. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah, if you want details in order to do modeling, then this is the way to go.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about him, if you contact him, he's extremely friendly and he doesn't have any issues if you use his material or anything. So, because as you know, some people are fussy or iffy, but he is not. He is just too happy to share. So,
Yeah, no, it's
before he actually started his YouTube channel, he used to send me his videos to put up on my channel. But then he decided to start his own. So
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, definitely worth going to and subscribing. No doubt about it. So let's just remove that. All right, I think, let me just look at Richard's stuff. Let me just make sure we have done everything.
I think so.
I think we have. Richard. And and I wanted to just throw in this one extra. A CMD Models Class 10E. So I'll rerun it again. Well, once it gets to the end.
And also it's your cut down container.
Yeah, there's also my container wagons, the
Yes.
kit bash version.
Because
Oh
yeah.
Nice.
I mean, further on down the line, we can show some videos of the 10Es running and some photos and some information. But that wasn't for today. Today was about
6Es.
Today was about the 6Es. But
and
a good job. Oh, by the way, Rinker, this model has subsequently had etched cab plates added, which Klein Getrain did.
Yeah, okay, our friend here in Centurion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does beautiful work.
Yes, they are really good.
Yeah, Karel.
Yeah, Karel van van Rensburg.
Ja, Karel Jansen van Rensburg.
So, it's a very nice model. And, well, guys, I'd like to thank you for coming on today.
It's my pleasure.
It's been, sorry we had some technical issues, and
And here, in his natural habitat, a shy and very retiring wildebeest has his lair.
Good evening. Welcome to the home of model railways in Daventry.
I don't know what to say now.
Well, James, welcome to my shed and my den, and where I come and hide from the real world and escape to build my models, drink some fine wine, and just be me.
Oh, well, you knew I'd come if you mentioned wine.
I'm very pleased that you perform to form.
Right.
What do you think of this one, by the way?
It's not bad at all, actually.
That's it. It's a Viergelegen state wine from Stellenbosch. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot blend, so basically a Bordeaux by any other name. As you can taste, it's a good full-bodied wine, quite smooth. It's got that sort of real strong, sort of proper South African wooded wine. Barrel. It's been in the barrel. You can taste that, but it's lovely and smooth. And there's, it. I can tell you now, James, it goes down extremely well.
I know. I'm looking forward to having some more in just a second. As soon as I'm off camera. Right. So, as Terry said, I'm James, and Terry and I have been friends for far too long. So what we want to do is to just introduce Terry to you. And Thunderbolt models as well. So, Terry, tell me about how you got into everything.
Well, my old man, when I was 9 years old, decided that my brother and I needed to be introduced to model trains, because he felt that you can't be a gentleman unless you have a hobby. And he himself is a philatelist. And he got us into model trains. I think secretly he wanted the model railway for himself, but he got us the traditional Triang Princess Elizabeth with 2 maroon coaches. We've got a beautiful Hornby Dublo station building, the glass roof one, and we got the engine shed, the Hornby Dublo engine shed with the extension. We had enough track to run two circles. We had a Winston Churchill. We had an 8F, and it just grew and grew and grew, and I got absolutely absorbed with it. The following year, funnily enough, he introduced us to military modelling, and through Airfix, which my brother got very, very into, and Marty took over that, and we swapped, and Marty got all the military modelling stuff, and I got the model train stuff, and both of us are still complete die hard in our hobbies. I love model trains. I can't put a complete finger on it why I'm so obsessed with it. Martin's the same with his military modelling, and the old man introduced us to that. And over the years, you go off and do things, and it goes up and down. But we are solidly. I'm still solid. I mean, I'm 62 now, and I'm still just as obsessed, if not worse, than I first was.
Brilliant. I mean, I have to say, you don't look a day over 70.
I know. But you've got to look at it this way. And no, I can't hurt. I built this then. off the legacy of my late mother-in-law, who had bequeathed me a lump of money to build something like this so that I could escape. My Dale Hayes, who's my neighbour, and part of the same model railway club, we used the thing that you could entertain in the garden, and we sat in here drinking red wine, and through a fantastic number of glasses of red wine we came up with starting Thunderbolt models, first with an eBay shop, and then once COVID it started relaxing and we could get out to model railway shows, we started with a stand on the model railway circuits, and then the other guys joined, yourself, David and Jim, and we then chose to open the shop in Coventry Market, in the lockup where we're at, you know, that shop that is clearly shown on our website.
Now, I've looked at the shop, and I see a lot of different influences in it. I mean, there are the boards as if it was a countryside station, and I certainly remember all of those on the stations when I was little.
Well, being Coventry, we decided to put up the Valencing so that it could mimic a London London North Western Railway station, because Coventry was one. So the Valencing, the guys from Elcut Creative produced for us on a 12 inches to the foot scale.
That's Jacob, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob did that for us, and so the idea is that the shop almost looks like one of the little station buildings that you would have found on any one of their stations. And yeah, it's that's the concept behind it.
Right. So there's a lot more of the early stuff, and lots of stories I know that you've told me, etc. But for the sake of other people, tell us about South African Railways and you.
Well, when I finished school early, because school and myself were not that compatible, my dad used his contacts to get me an interview with the South African Railways to get an old-fashioned 5-year indenture with the railways. I passed my entrance exams, and I got offered the post as an apprentice mechanical fitter in Salt River Works on steam to start off with, and went down to what they call the White House and the apprentice school within the works, just short of shop number 1, I think it is, where the steam shop was. And at that time, GM AM Garrett's and the Class 25 condensers were going through their last refit, and Mr. Wardale was busy working on the Class 26, the Red Devil, and producing what was effectively the last produced steam locomotive for the South African Railways. And that's where I started. I interrupted my apprenticeship to go and do my national service, and then came back and ended up, the steam was gone, and we were then all transferred to other depots, and I ended up at the electrical running sheds at Coobert Road. But my pedigree in South Africa is railways. My uncle, my mother's brother, was ended up as the principal of Ashland Park, William Smith. And my grandfather, my mother's dad, was a section plumber for 47 years on the South African Railways, ending his time in Salt River Works.
Wow.
Okay, so really 3 generations of South African railwaymen. I can't really put my marker down, because I did 9 years with the South African Railways, and in 1989 I put my tools down to come to the United Kingdom and reset my life and things like that.
Yeah.
I found out that I had an ability to sell, and switched careers and used the change of countries to do that, but never lost my love and desire for railways and interest in South African railways.
So am I right in saying that, if I've got the term right, you got your ticket?
I have got my ticket, yes.
Okay, so you are qualified to hooliganise railways.
Yes, I qualified in 1984 after doing my trade test.
Right.
I passed my trade test first time. which then meant I could come out as out of my time early, and my indenture was then set aside, and I was then a qualified fitter on the floor of the workshops, basically a journeyman.
Right.
And I worked as a journeyman on the floor over that period of time in the electrical running sheds, working on the 5M2A motor coach sets, the 4M1s and the 4M2s. I also worked on 5Es, 5E1s, 4Es, which is just one of my favourite electrical locomotives. It's just an absolute beast. I worked on the 80s when they came in. And yeah, absolutely fascinating. You know, it was a fascinating place to work. Very heavy work. You know, the lifting shops were huge. But I did most of my time on the South African railways working in the running sheds.
So you haven't had a chance to work with trains since?
Well, no, I started through just a crazy inquiry, ending up going down to the Welsh Highland Railway at Dinas and get involved in the NG15 project, which were 2-footers.
Right.
Because the Welsh Highland Railways have a number of South African NGG16 Garretts. They also bought 2 NG15s. One is a complete basket case, and the other one, they've actually almost got it ready to go back into steam. I did some time working on that, thoroughly loved it. I also had the fantastic privilege at that time to assist the guys working with K1, the first ever Garrett made, which is now at Stadtvoldbahn. I did some work on that, namely in the cutting the crowns off for the retubing of the boiler on that. But absolute privilege, absolute fun. I plan to get down to Wales before they get the old girl, the NG15, or Kalahari as it's affectionately known, into steam. Because I'd love to just say, yeah, I'm part of that project.
Great. Now, I've heard you talking about, and I don't know what they mean and what the difference is, E1s and E. And you showed me 2 models, and you said that one was right and one wasn't, and the other one that was right wasn't totally right, etc. So have you found that your background with the working on the trains themselves has helped you with the modelling? And would you then say that there is a crossover between the two?
Well,
now that's a cut.
yeah, my interest in model trains, and then getting interested into using my experience in real life railways to affect my interest in model trains, didn't initially really happen. I mean, because my father was from England, he brought us up really with wanting to model British outline stuff. But because I was working in the South African railways, I kind of got interested in it, but never really pursued it, namely because there was a lack of models, and my skill hadn't developed at that time. But I had at that point bought this book through the model railroad specialist in Plumstead, called Locomotives of the South African Railways, a concise guide by Lee Paxton and David Bourne, which actually it became the concise Bible for anybody who wanted to know. Obviously, since then, more locos have been added to South Africa's rolling stock, but especially the early stuff, etc., etc. Once I'd come to the UK, I started looking at different options, realizing that I had a South African heritage and a South African feel. I decided to look into how I could model South African railways. Funny enough, I first wanted to see about modelling the standard gauge railway, or the 4-foot 8.5-inch gauge that was in the Cape, from Cape Town to Wellington and down onto the Wynberg branch. But there was very little information on that, and not enough for me to really get involved. And I came across a guy called Bruce Green online, and Bruce is one of South African modelling fraternity's great characters. He's a bit of a Marmite fellow. You either liked him or you didn't. But Bruce, for some reason, shared a huge amount of knowledge with me and got me into looking into the narrow gauge side, the 2-footers of South African railways. And so I got into it in a basic that I started to start learning to scratch build or kit bash or find out what there was. And just outside Cape Town, at a place called Hopefield, there was a 2-foot gauge line from Calibaskraal via Hopefield to H's Bay. H's Bay today is Saldanha Bay, and from up until 1926, I think from 1902 to 1926, that was a 2-foot gauge line. It only had effectively 3 Baldwins to start off with, 2 6.0s. So I kit bashed the Bachmann Baldwin and turned it into a 2.60. I put outside frames on it. The scale is ON30, but it gave me basically the Loco that it was used on that line. My idea is eventually to actually model that line in 7mm to the foot scale. So it's O scale running on 2-foot gauge. I've allowed poetic license. I'm not going to go and use 14mm gauge track because it's just a waste of time, really, and too anal. I'm just going to use 16.5mm. It means I can use ready-to-run chassis. I can use bogies and wheels that I've all produced already. But I've produced things. Wolseley Works produces brass, etch brass coach sides for the early South African Cape Government Railway coaches. So I've used their brass sides, and I've made myself a set of South African Cape Government Railway coaches. I've got enough there. I've got enough stuff to build 6 of them. And then on the Avontier line, using a van that was brought from German Southwest Africa, the South Africans produced a brake van, and only one of this type. And I've made a model out of it using McDonald's coffee stirrers and plastic card and bits and pieces, and produced a model of that particular brake van. I've also produced the bunk car using one of the old standard covered wagons, and that was used for the permanent way staff out on the 2-foot gauge lines. Again, I've made a scratch-built open wagon that a number of these were brought from German Southwest Africa into South Africa. They were converted, rebuilt, and ended up on that system. So my kind of secret passion is to one day have a 2-foot gauge line. On the normal standard stuff in HO, yes, Lima produced some stuff. The Locos, the 5E that they produced, is it a 5E? Is it a 5E1? Well, to be really honest, it's neither. That's how wrong it is. The Trans-Karoo coaches they produced are pretty accurate. The first set had the wrong bogies. The second set they brought out with Commonwealth bogies, which made it pretty good. The 5M2A set, it's a damn good possible model as an HO. It's got a couple of faults. The good old diehards will want to say, oh, it's missing this, it's missing that. But, you know, I worked on them, and when I look at it, to me, I recognise the 5M2A when I see it. Lima also produced a fantastic Class 34 diesel, which is pretty sound. They produced a rake of wagons, some good, some not. They do look a little bit strange because of the gauge. You know, 16.5mm is a little bit wide because South African standard gauge is 3'6". So again, the diehards are modelling on 12mm track. It looks far more convincing. But again, you then have to put a hell of a lot of work in to bring it into some sort of working, easy to scale. So there's nothing that's just straight out the box. And but on doing that, once we started Thunderbolt models, I decided that after chatting with the lads, that we would set out our stall as a shop to have our sort of unique selling point is to stock South African outline models. I've got to say it's an uphill battle because not all the producers of anything out there can see the bigger picture and want to grow the market. They just want to sell to the existing market, and they don't realize that you actually have to invest in developing that market and bringing others who are not into South African modelling into the fold. And without a ready supply of reasonably priced Locos, that's not going to happen. Okay, all you'll do is sell outline stuff to different providers. I mean, different customers that are there, and eventually that will dwindle and it won't be there. Where what we need to actually do is develop new guys into the hobby, who want to model South African railways. And there is a following. I mean, a lot of these locos were made here in the United Kingdom. So there is an interest in colonial railways and that. And South African railways was huge. Although it was narrow gauge at 3'6", it was run as a standard gauge, major, first-class outfit, you know, in the world. It was a railway that had more garrets than any other railway ever. You know, over 2,600 garrets, I think, were employed on the South African railways over the history of the South African railways. I mean, it was one of the earliest railways to electrify its main line, you know, and yeah, it has an amazing history for innovation. I mean, the Class 26, which was the last steam engine to build for the South Africans, used Porter's inventions and ideas to produce one of the most steam efficient locomotives ever produced in the world. But it came too late for steam. Yeah.
Great. So is there anybody, and what providers would you recommend or that you're impressed with when it comes to South African model railways?
Well, on that basis, James, we look at who actually is prepared to engage with the market, and we go from that point, because I think that's the fairest thing to say. On the 7mm side, Wolseley Works produce the scratch builders aids. We don't stock Wolseley Works in Thunderbolt models, but their stuff is pretty good. You know, it needs a bit of work, but it's convincing enough so that you can get going in the narrow gauge stuff. But in the standard gauge stuff in HO, we've got involved with CMD models, and Craig of CMD models is able to think out the box, and he does see the need to develop this market. Okay, but he himself is ploughing his furrow for many years on his own, and he produces a fine range of wagons and has produced a couple of locos in his time. But that's part of his collection series, and we at Thunderbolt Models stock his collection series in the shop. These are absolutely fantastic models. You know, it's at 16.5mm gauge, HO models, but he does produce 12mm bogies so that you can actually bring it to looking at scale. These models will be finished. They'll have all the detailing. It will have the vacuum pipes, everything. All you need to do is put couplings on, either the similar to Lima or the KD couplings onto that, which are very similar to the South African Buckeye couplings. So they're pretty good. We carry that range of stock. We also carry his Hobby Line series, which is a lot cheaper. It's the basic model without the detailing. So you still need to put the brake wheels on, the steps, the couplings. Sorry, I'll give you a good picture of it there. These are some of the wagons that he produces, and he produces a good range of open wagons. He produces the grain wagons and some flat cars and container wagons. He produces them both in South African railway colours, Transnet and Spoornet. Okay, so that you can model in from going back into the 40s right up until the modern day. His stuff is pretty good and actually very, very reasonably priced and accurate, very accurate. Then we stock a fine range of buildings that are produced. They're laser cut HO buildings produced by Model Railway Specialist in Plumstead, and we carry their full range. So there's Fishook Station, there's a small town, a small Dorp shop. We produce a small station shop. They produce the whole lot, and we carry everything they do. Even their new products that they do. They do a fantastic Cape Farm homestead, the wine cellars, the foreman's house, and the workers' cottages. And I've taken one of the workers' cottages and I've built it. And I used Scenic City, which is a range of products that we have at Thunderbolt Models, corrugated iron, to use on the roof. So it gives it a really authentic looking building. They're very easy to build, great fun to build actually. And watch this space, because I think we'll end up with a little layout or diorama from that. Then another company that we've started stocking and we've stumbled across is a Polish company, but its pedigree is South African. The guy who runs it, Martin, is actually a Zimbabwean, and he then went to South Africa and now is in Poland with his wife, and they produce a range of South African HO resin kits. He also produces a catenary kits for the South African overhead wires in the system, and they are excellent, and they're all on our website. You're at www.thunderboltmodels.com, and you can see them as well. And then through the model shop in Plumstead, we have started becoming stockists of this range of products, model scene, and they do accessories like signals, water cranes, the what do you call those things? The water pump, you know, the little windmills, the farm dam, or plaasdammetjie as we call it in South Africa, and all sorts of accessories. They do aloes, vineyards, all the bits and pieces to make a South African layout look more and more authentic. And we're starting to carry those. And then another product that we've brought in that is so useful to modelers, especially South Africans, because they have to do a lot of things themselves, is we've got this range of embossed card, okay, which is effectively a wallpaper that has had brick or stone printed on it, which gives it that 3D feel. This is produced by a company in Greece. We carry their full range in HO, from arches to brick to cobbles to even water scenes, that is used this feel of the ripple on the paper to give it this feel of depth in the product. And we carry that. We carry the glues and goos, paints, tools, you name it, we carry it at Thunderbolt Models. We carry a full range of Pico track, from Flexi Rail to set track to slipstream. You want it in code 75, you want 12mm, you want O gauge, we carry it. And if we haven't got it, guys, we can get it.
So what specific problems do you see for everybody modelling South African railways?
Well, if they're modelling in the HO world, it's choosing which gauge to use. Do they use 16.5mm rolling stock, or do they actually re-gauge to 12mm? And that's really getting the accessories to be able to do that. I mean, CMD models do stock the bogies, and they bring them out on a regular basis. And they've promised me that there's a fantastic batch on its way out to help support that part of the modelling fraternity. But the big one, James, is the key one is locomotives. Ready to run, reasonably priced locomotives. I mean, Frascati make a set of diesels. They've basically pirated some existing locos that are of the same manufacturer, thus representing the class. They are slightly too big, but only ever so slightly. But there are convincing models of that. But the guy who worked with Frascati to do that has basically secured that part quite fairly, because he invested in it. But it needs to be made more readily. They're very, very reasonably priced, and they're there to be used. There's another couple of manufacturers out there, but they're very much doing their own thing in their own space. Craig has produced with CMD models a couple of locos. He produced a kit as well, and it will be interesting to see if we can convince CMD models to produce a couple more locos to feed and help grow the scale and the modelling of South Africa. It's always going to be locomotives.
Yeah.
Because rolling stock, you know, there's a lot of good pre-owned stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that can get on. Craig makes a real amount of wagons that are readily available, and they're there. So yes, there's a good platform to start from. It will be seeing as it grows and there's a bigger interest in it, who comes into the hobby. I mean, who comes into the hobby as a manufacturer and produces what? Will people have the vision to say, I mustn't just keep this for myself, but let's start developing other key distributors worldwide, so other hobby shops, to be able to sell manufacturers' stuff, realizing the commercial side at the same time as producing a growth in the interest. You know, if you take the United Kingdom, there's some 500,000 South Africans, or people who link to South Africa, living in the United Kingdom. In amongst there has to be an interest in the South African modelling scene. And it would be lovely to see, just from my own point of view, out of pure nostalgia.
So what you're saying, if I understand it, is that the models or the engines are there, and they are of a quality that is really worth buying, but they haven't really quite worked out their distribution.
Yes, it's because in quite a lot of the cases, it's a cottage industry, so it's one or two people producing locos at different places in the globe to a number at a level for what they feel are those who have a direct interest. Because they're selling to people who are existing South African model railway
Right.
people. So they're selling to existing market,
Yeah.
which is small. So they're not going to produce mass run of things.
Yeah.
Fashati is different because they're a proper outfit in Brazil, and they don't just make South African railways. They do Brazilian railways, they do North American railways. So they're a far bigger shout. DJ&H made a series of white metal kits in the steam locos, which a company called Precision Scale in South Africa have the sole distribution rights. And I can understand that too. I mean, they are fine models, but they are very pricey. And they are, you're talking a really, really high quality model kit. White metal, beautiful model that these guys are producing. There's a couple of guys who produce the steam locos in resin base, running on different chassis, and pretty convincing as well. But again, they are small suppliers and manufacturers.
Yeah. Now I've got to just interrupt you there because I'm conscious of the time, etc. And we need to start winding up. So, is there anything else that you would really like to say to everybody out there?
Well, my view is it's. I think there is scope for South African modelling. Thunderbolt models will do its damnedest to support that where we can. You know, it's not our main part of our business. We are very much into the British 00 scene. Why? Because it pays the bills. It sells a lot. I myself model 7mm narrow gauge, but I also model O gauge, and I'm in British outline. And we will, Thunderbolt models will stock more and more of that sort of stuff. But because those is where the bills are paid. But yes, I would like to support the South African modelling scene. I would like us to be known as the model shop in the United Kingdom for this, and we're open to hear from any manufacturer or supplier who wants to distribute their products into the British market. They've got to realise that we're a small player, and we are there. We're very keen. We're very helpful. We've got, amongst us as members of the team, we've got years and years of modelling experience. And at the end of the day, it's about having fun. And we want to encourage people to have fun while they're having their modelling.
Well, look, Terry, thank you very, very much for all your time. He ended with a business opportunity for everybody. What more can you ask for? But if you have any queries or questions, or you just want to find out a little bit more, then look us up on Facebook, or alternatively, just Google Thunderbird models, because you will find
Thunderbolt,
us.
mate.
Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt models. Thunderbolt models.
Okay, we'll just do that bit again.
Yes.
Go. So I'm going to have to cut you off there. I'm really sorry to do it, but I'm conscious of the time and we have got to finish fairly shortly. So Terry, thank you very, very much for a lot of information and a lot of knowledge freely given to people. And not only that, but a potential sales opportunity for anybody who's watching. Now, if you want to talk to us, or you would like to find out more, or you're just nosy and you'd like to see a little bit more about what we do, then you can find us at Thunderbolt Models on Facebook, or alternatively, you could Google www.thunderboltmodels.com. And thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, and cheers.
Where's the wine?